Kyle Bratcher from Cruiser Customizing here with Misty Johnson from Dunlop Tires. Today we're going to talk a little bit about tire maintenance and kind of some key important aspects or things to think about before you get on your motorcycle. So Misty, what are some of the key things that people should really look at or think about before riding the motorcycle?
Well, you know, Kyle, the number one thing you can do before you ride your motorcycle is check your air pressure. Can't stress this enough because air pressure, it is critical to every aspect of the motorcycle tire. It's rolling resistance, it's turning, it's drive, dealing with the loads you put on your bike. Everything that has to do with the motorcycle tire comes down to the proper air pressure.
So here we are down at the front wheel of this BMW, and as you can see we have our trusty Dunlop tire pressure gauge here. Now the best way to check the air pressure on your tire is going to be to remove the cap, number one. Number two, you're going to want to make sure that you have the head of the tire pressure gauge level. You don't want it cocked to one side or the other. And then you're just going to want to make sure that the indicator is actually pushed all the way down so it gives you a good reading. And then you just set it against here and push down once. Now, Misty, what's the best way to read this?
Well, here in the United States, of course, you want to look where it says PSI because that's the measurement we use here in the U.S. And you can see that this gauge goes in increments of 5 pounds each. So this tire is measuring at 23 pounds of pressure.
Those things that Misty mentions also affect your mileage, right? If you have proper tire pressure, your tire's going to roll better. Like she said, there's less resistance on the road. It's actually going to increase the amount of miles per gallon you're going to get out of the motorcycle.
Yes, because if your tires are properly inflated, then they're going to act the way they should. So the first place to look for the proper air pressure is with your tire manufacturer. We all have our catalogs, our websites, which you guys have access to as well. So, you know, your customers can call in and ask you as well. And that's the best place to start to get the proper air pressure in your tires.
Now the other thing a tire can do is act as your suspension.
The air almost acts like a spring inside the tire. We actually design the tires around the air that's going to go in there. Let's take the Harley Davidson, for example, MU8516. Okay. We do recommend 40 pounds of pressure in most of the Harley Davidson models, but there are some that tend to be a little heavier, in which we might recommend you do use the max on the Sidewall, which is 42. And if you typically ride 40 when you're one person on the bike, you're not fully loaded. If you are fully loaded, going on a trip, you have 2 people on the bike, then it is good to go to the max on the Sidewall because you're doing nothing but helping the tire out at that point.
So when you're riding solo, like Misty says,
yes,
you're going to be, what, 150, 250 pounds, whatever your weight is, right? Your motorcycle is almost unsprung at that point in time. It's not really being laden down with lots of weight. But once you put, 20 pounds of weight in each of your saddlebags, your tour pack, you throw a passenger on the back, the dynamics of your motorcycle and how that tire acts are significantly different.
Yes, so by going to the max on the Sidewall at that point, again, you're doing nothing but helping the tire because you do have that extra weight coming down on the tire, so the bike is going to react differently. It's going to need to work a little bit harder to get going, get over that rolling resistance. So with that couple of pounds of extra pressure, sometimes you do nothing but help the tire at that point.
So when you're riding just solo on your motorcycle, by lowering that pressure down from the max, so you're actually getting the proper inflation for your motorcycle and your body weight, you actually gain suspension. Your bike actually rides smoother with the proper amount of air.
Yes, we do build a certain amount of suspension into the tires, and so the recommended air pressure that we have in our catalogs and other manufacturers have tend to be for the normal riding conditions, solo rider, to where the tires can act as that extra suspension and they can go over the bumps a little bit better and absorb a bit of the road stuff.
So Misty, what's the best way to look at your tire and know if you need to replace it?
The best way to look at it is just get down on the ground. Get down in front of that tire. If you can, if your bike has a center stand, pop it up on the center stand. If not, if you can roll it around, have somebody else look at it. But just get eye level with that tire and look at it, make sure there's no nails or stone cuts. Get the valve stem in a nice place to where you can reach it fairly easily, and then get that air pressure gauge out. I'm holding a pencil gauge here, which is good in a pinch. But if you have a nice dial gauge at home or a digital gauge, they're very good gauges. They're very accurate. And that's the best thing you can do is get down, check it, make sure it's to the tire manufacturer's specs.
Awesome. So what are some of the physical characteristics or signs you need to replace your tire?
Some of the physical characteristics would be maybe you start to see a little bit of a different pattern crop out. The tires starting to look a little bald. We do build wear indicators into the tires. So if you're looking at the tread and you happen to see a little raised bump inside a tread groove, and it's flush with the rest of the tread.
Time to change the tire.
Yes, it's time to change the tire. That indicates you're at 1/32 of tread life. And actually, if you're starting to see those bumps, but you're not flush, you're getting close, it's a good time to change the tire because a new set of tires is going to make the bike feel brand new. You can also do the old Lincoln head penny test.
Yeah, for sure.
Turn Lincoln upside down and put the penny in the tread. If you can see the top of his head, you're at 1/32 of tread life, and it's time to change your tires.
Another sign that you might want to take a look for is drywall cracking or sidewall cracking. So if your motorcycle hasn't been ridden for a while, or if you park outside all the time, before you get on that motorcycle and ride, make sure you check the sidewall, make sure there's no cracking in the sidewall, because if there is, it's not a safe tire to ride on. You should probably replace it.
It means that the tire is aged a little bit more than it should, and you might see this with older tires that have been improperly stored as well. If you are storing your bike for the winter time, it is good to put it in the garage, keep it out of the elements, and keep it away from electrical equipment such as the mini fridge or the air compressor. Those type of things actually create their own ozone, which can pull the protectants out of the tire and age them a little faster. So when you park it in the garage, make sure you park it away from those things. And then do check the air pressure while it's stored, because as the tires are losing their pressure a little bit during storage, that can put a little bit more stress on the tires as needed and possibly cause that weather checking, as we call it.
Right, another thing that might happen is if you don't run the proper tire pressure while the bike's being stored, you can end up with flat spots in your tire that sometimes don't go away.
Yeah, so it is good to move the bike around a bit and check that air pressure even when it's stored. You know, sometimes when something's stored, we tend not to think about it, but your motorcycle is your baby, so, you know, treat it as such and make sure to, even when it's in storage, to check the air pressure and move it around a little bit every once in a while.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Misty. Misty Johnson from Dunlop Tires. If you're looking for a tire, Dunlop has been in the industry for a really long time, and they're a great tire to look at.
Thank you, Kyle.